Right, I've temporarily patched this up with tape because obviously this greenhouse is on its last legs, and that pane that was actually cracked, I've just put a bit of tape on it, and all of this will go next spring and be replaced. But it's in such a tender state that I don't sort of rip things out or try and replace things and nail things in, because something else will fall off somewhere else. So I'll just temporarily put some tape on it, and I will bring in some foam filler, and then those nails will have something to bite into. So that will hold it, hopefully, till next spring. The other thing I thought of was when I was thinking about putting the barrels at the front there is this space, because my plot actually goes up to the end of this. It's halfway through the hedge. Well, I've got my half back down to here and down through half the hedge. So this area is mine. I've asked and I was told that, yeah, this is mine. This has been a dumping area by the previous tenants. So I'm clearing it out, and then I can put the barrels, and if I put that end of it up, so it will collect the rainwater off this side of the shed. It will come down here, collect a barrel here and a barrel here. I think I've only got just enough space for two. Possibly I could try and get a third in, we'll see. And then I'll siphon it onto another barrel there, so I'll have 4 barrels plus the 2 that are collecting off the roof of the shed. So that should be plenty, and this space will be utilised rather than being a bit of dead space. I came in this morning to fix that, which I did, and then I thought I'll get the barrels in before the new neighbours move in or somebody comes and visits. Nobody's been allocated this plot yet. I thought, well, I'll get the barrels in, because I've been told that the line was there, but there was nothing really to mark it. And I thought, well, if I put the barrels there, then they can't complain. They can't say, oh, that's ours, that's our area, and you can't put your barrels there, whatever. And then, as I was trying to level the area and clear some of that rubbish, for more rubbish, and there were loads of pipes and things, so I shifted the pipes and the rubbish to put a couple of barrels there. And I thought, well, I'll clear the rest of the rubbish out. And I discovered that there is actually a brick wall there which marks the edge of my plot. So Tony was right when he said, well, that big concrete composter is mine. And he said the line runs along here, but it is actually now in bricks and mortar. Definitely that marks the border of my plot. So this side is theirs and that side is mine. And now the hedge really becomes their problem, because I've taken out all the brambles that were along here. There were a couple that were rooted under the brick, so I've done the best I could, and I've taken all this rubbish out. There was a lot of all these old pots and things. That's my pruners. Don't throw that in the rubbish. Lots of hose pipes, and there's a lot of rubbish in that bag that I've cleared out. Lots of dead wood, lots of bits of metal, bits of old wood, bits of metal, glass, all sorts, which I've taken out. So I'm going to level that, and I was thinking if I can get a third barrel in, but I think I can get 4 barrels along there easy, because I'm not going to grow anything on that area. Before I do that, should I put something there to stop the weeds? It's a case of, what do I put there to stop the weeds coming through? I don't like doing it, but they've got some carpet here, and you might do the job. I'll think about it, I have cleared up the rubbish from this area. Tempted to stay and finish this off, but I'll leave that for another day. But one last job. Obviously all this rubbish will have to go somewhere. All these pipes and hose pipes and all this wood and stuff that was back there. Not to mention this bag of rubbish, more wood here, all this metal rubbish. So all of that needs to go. And I've dug what I could out of those. There's a couple that are really, like that one over there. It's a beggar because it's sort of rooted under the foundations of the greenhouse, and because of where it is, I've got the concrete on the other side, and I've got this dodgy greenhouse, and if I start knocking things about I could cause some damage, so I really can't get at it. So that will have to wait. I tried to remove this bramble, you can see the thickness of it, and it's just not bloody shifting. but it's so deep on the ground and it sort of goes that way and then it'll be under the foundations. So rather than do my shouldering trying to pull it out, got my usual trick of filling a terracotta pot, well it's a broken terracotta pot in this case, with some compost and turning it upside down on top of it. Now it can't grow, it'll never see the light of day. I'll put something else on top of it later and then it'll just sit there and rot. There's a YouTuber that signs off his videos, "Today is a good day." Well, today has been a good day. I'm very pleased that I managed to get some jobs done, and especially finding that brick wall is a boon, because then obviously there's no possibility of any argument with the new tenants about where their boundaries are. Well, these blue barrels, been given one of these and I had one already. They're a bit shorter but they fit in that gap just. So they'll go in there and then I can adjust them to fit in whatever goes in here. I'll have to raise those on some bricks, but apart from that, that should do the job. Right, I found this piece of fencing. That's the right size, or rather it's twice the right size for those pots with peas in them. So if I cut it in the middle, it'll be just right for those 2 pots of peas. So I've just measured it and I'll just cut through that. Now, I haven't got wire cutters, but I have got this junior hacksaw here, so I'll have a go with this. Right, so that's cut. So let's go and try put this on. If it was outside where it could get rocked by wind, I would put something and stake it in further, but it's in the greenhouse. It's not going to get buffeted by wind, so I might put something around, but I can just now wrap the peas around it and this should hold on to this and go up the trellis. So let's see how it goes. So just put them through and come up and go through, and once they get a hold they'll be fine, they'll just keep going up. So that's these 2 done. Now I've separated them because I think if they're next to each other they would actually hold onto each other and then it would be difficult to move the pots. So I've separated them so there's a bit of a gap between the 2. And it just makes it easier to go around and pick the peas, hopefully. They're looking a little bit yellow, but the top's alright. It's the bottom bit that's looking a bit yellow. The weather was bad and he was sitting in small pots, but now that it's in a big pot, it seems to be going alright. And the courgettes are absolutely romping away. Compare that with the size of my hand, and it's got flowers on it already. Well, it's developing what would eventually be the flowers and the courgettes. This one's a little bit behind, but that's okay. I need to move some of these barrels to the side of the greenhouse as they can fit into the gap between the 2 walls. So I need to remove the woody bits from the top and decant the liquid plant food first. Well, now that I've taken the woody bits out of this one and put it into that one, nasty smelly job, I've got about half barrel full of this good liquid plant food. It just needs a bit of a filter. Yesterday I took out all the woody bits that were in this barrel and put them in this one. These are now dry. They've got a little bit of nettle leaves on them, but really they can go in the compost now. I've got quite a lot of weed fertilizer here, and I've got these 2 containers, so that should take most of it. These have been washed and rinsed. They were only used for carrying water before, so there's nothing toxic in them, so they'll be fine. I've got 1.5 containers, so that should do me for a while. Now there's a lot of sludge at the bottom of this barrel, so I put that on top of this other barrel. Normally I would just stop when I got to the sludge, but I want to clean this out and use the barrel for something else, so I'm just cleaning out the last of what's at the bottom and pour that on top of this. and then I can put this into the water collection system. Well, I've levelled these barrels using stones and things, so they're fairly level. Now this end, I thought of putting this at the end, but unfortunately if I put that there, then it's going to have a pipe to go from there to the barrel, and it's too low. So I've decided to clodge it with another piece of guttering, so the rain will come down there and then run into that guttering, and there's only one way to find out if it works. If I pour some water into the guttering, and it is actually going down. Now some of it is running the other way because this end needs to be raised, so for the moment, as a temporary measure, I'm just going to put a stone under it. So that should do the job. Try again. And yes, it's going down there, it's going down there. So I'll pour it down. So some of it is going down. That guttering isn't right, but this seems to work. It's going down here and it's going down at the end. So it works, sort of. So need to sort this guttering out. Life's eternal good news, bad news joke. The good news is this one is flowering, but the bad news is the one next to it. It's not looking so good, is it? But it's got fresher stuff coming through. Can't be frost because this one is right next to it. I fill these from the same source, so it can't be the compost, can't be the water, and they were both perfectly fine when I brought them in. Well, like this one is trying to flower, but some of these leaves look a bit ratty. This one did better, and this one's done very poorly. Everything else seems to be doing alright, apart from these peppers, because they're in small pots. They really need potting up, and I just didn't have the space, so I'll try and sort them out. This styrofoam box was on the top shelf in the shed, and Mr. Rat has been nibbling at it, and it was obvious because there were bits of styrofoam coming down, and he's been having fun chewing it up, and I'm wondering whether he was trying to start a nest here, so it's best to clear this out. There's still bits of brambles. You can never get rid of this stuff, can you? But this is all dry because I cut it from the other side, so this is all dry. I can just pull it out. But yeah, looks like he's been having fun up here. I'll just sweep this up and get rid of that styrofoam because the rats like it. So I want to get rid of all the styrofoam around so they can't start chewing things up again. Hopefully he's not decided to come and nest in here again. Well, Mr. Rat has forced the issue of me having to sort out the rest of these shelves in the shed. There was a lot of ironmongery, rusty old iron and stuff, which I put aside. But there's a few bits that might be useful for other jobs, but most of it is just too rusty and old to be used for anything. But there's things like this old lamp I thought you might want to have a look at. It's an antique. The scrapman won't get much for it, so I'll see if somebody wants that. There's an old style oil lamp. I've rubbed it and no genie's come out, so I'll see if somebody else wants it. Try their luck. And this, I bet very few people will know what this is. If you've watched Harry Dodson's Victorian Kitchen Garden, you will know what this is. When I get enough subscribers, I might put this in a competition to see if people know what it is. Lots of old tobacco tins. I've found an old pipe. Obviously it's no good to me, so all this is going to get thrown away, but I mean, this stuff is ancient. I mean, this company's gone out of business years ago. Anyway, so I've put some stuff on the top shelf, organised that, sort of. Now I'll organise these other shelves. And this bottom shelf, there's a lot of timber and bits of wood that are still quite sound, so I've left these alone. And this suitcase is sound. It's old, but it's sound. And the reason I brought it in is the rats like to chew on things like fleece and fabric and things, and chew on it and poop in it. I brought this in so they can go in there, and doesn't matter that the combination doesn't work, because I don't think the rats can work the combination lock. And it's got a latch there, and a latch there, so I don't think the rats will get in that. And that will protect the fleece and things, because they don't actually do anything with it. They don't eat it, they just come in and vandalise things. So having things put away in boxes rather than be all over the place will help to not give them anywhere to sort of rest and muck about. But yeah, it cost me a few hours when I was rushing to get other jobs done, but at least it's done. Now we can run a book on how long it will take for these shelves to get filled up again. Not long. It won't be long, but at least they'll be better organised, and all that metal will have gone. And a couple of bags of rubbish has gone as well, so that's good. I'm happy about that. Well, I've put the last of the compost from the concrete composter in here, and I've sieved it. Got a load of big pieces out and a lot of rubbish, so I've got some nice fine compost out of that. And I started trying to get the compost that I put into these two Daleks in November, and that looks pretty well light and fluffy. A few lumpy bits, but that's alright. I mean, I just tipped the pots in, I didn't do anything to them, so the worms have done a bit over the winter. But the amazing thing is these thistles have been growing in there. They're all white and peaky looking, because obviously they've not had any light on them. This is what they should look like. As soon as I lifted the lid, these have popped up, and they're higher than the lid now. They've been growing and growing. These have grown from the ground up through all the compost to the top. The heat of the compost in the Daleks must have made them grow earlier than the ones outside. It'll be interesting to see what the roots are like, because obviously all of this goodness has come out of the roots, so it'll be interesting to see what the roots look like.